But I find it simplest to illustrate it by hearing without comment, so that you can get into tune with what is. You can't really get out of tune with it, but we don't know that yet. Maybe some of you do.
Hello, welcome back to the show, Trucking Tendencies. Thanks for tapping in, tuning in, checking out this podcast. And I'm continuing on with the Commercial Driver Handbook that's given out from the California Department of Motor Vehicles. The reason why I'm actually doing it is because I got to review it. I got a couple of tickets. Not guilty. They were all dismissed. I got a speeding ticket. I got running a scale ticket in the past year, and I guess it prompted them, or sometimes it's random, I guess. I don't really know how the system works in it, but they told me that I got to retake my test. So here we are. It is a boring one. So anyway, on to 1.1.2 skills test. If you pass the required knowledge test, you can take the CDL skills test. There are 3 types of general skills tests that are required to pass: vehicle inspection, basic control skills, and road test, formerly known as a drive test. You must take these tests in the type of vehicle of which you wish to be licensed. Any vehicle that has components marked or labeled cannot be used for the vehicle inspection. All skill tests must be conducted in English. An interpreter is prohibited for the CDL skills test. Wait. So how do these guys that are getting they need an interpreter to speak to the DMV people? They allow that, but they don't allow the skills test. How do they pass when they speak to them? That's crazy. Vehicle inspection test. You'll be tested to see if you know whether your vehicle is safe to drive. You will be asked to do a vehicle inspection and explain to the examiner that you would inspect, what you inspect, and why. This test takes approximately 40 minutes. If you do not pass the vehicle inspection test, the other test will be postponed. There is no additional fee for retaking the vehicle inspection test on the same application. Basic control skills test. You will be tested on your skill to control the vehicle. You will be asked to move your vehicle forward, backward, and turn it within a defined area. These areas may be marked with traffic lane cones, barriers, or something similar. The examiner will tell you how each control test is to be done. You will be scored on your ability to properly perform each exercise. This test takes approximately 30 minutes. Failure of any skills test ends the test. A retest fee is due for each basic control skills test. Road test. You will be tested on your skills to safely drive your vehicle in a variety of traffic situations on a DMV specified route. The situations may include left and right turns, intersections, railroad crossings, curves, up and down grades, single or multi-lane roads, streets, or highways. The examiner will tell you where to drive. The test takes approximately 45 to 60 minutes. If you fail the road test, a retest fee is charged for each additional road test. The road test is required for an original CDL to remove a restriction placard placed on your CDL because of vehicle size or equipment, to add P or S endorsement to renew a CDL expired for more than 2 years. CDL restrictions. Your CDL will be restricted by the type of vehicle you use for the driving test. For example, if your test vehicle does not have air brakes, you will be restricted to driving vehicles without air brakes. If your passenger transport vehicle carries 15 persons or less, including the driver, you will be restricted to driving a small size bus. Troops to Trucks. The Troops to Trucks program allows DMV to waive CDL skills test for qualified military service members who are employed or were within the last year in a military position requiring the operation of a military motor vehicle equivalent to a CMV on public roadways and highways. Qualified applicants must submit completed CDL certification for military waiver of CDL driving test DL 963 and commanding officer's certification of driving experience form DL 964. In addition to any other documents required to apply for a CDL. These forms are available at dmv.ca.gov. Active duty members will need to provide their military identification, while veterans will need to provide a certificate of release or discharge from active duty, which shows their discharge was within the last year. Medical documentations 1.2 medical documentation requirements. So a CDL driver in interstate commerce and drivers applying for and or who hold a certificate to drive a school bus, school pupil activities bus, youth bus, general public paratransit vehicle, or farm labor vehicle must use medical examiners listed on the National Registry of Certified Medical Examiners, National Registry. The National Registry is a federal program establishing requirements for healthcare professionals that perform physical qualification examinations for CMV drivers. This program was developed to improve highway safety and driver health by requiring medical examiners to be trained and certified so they can determine effectively whether a commercial driver's medical fitness for duty meets federal standards. If you are required to have a CDL as part of your job, your employer shall pay the cost of the examination unless it was performed before you applied for the job. A CDL driver may start an application and take the law and vision test before submitting a medical report. Do not issue any commercial licensing document until the driver submits a qualifying medical report. CDL drivers, interstate or intrastate, who successfully pass a commercial medical examination will submit to DMV a valid original or copy MER and MEC form when applying for an original CLP or CDL or updating an existing medical expiration date. School bus drivers 65 years of age and older must submit a new medical report to DMV every year. MER and MEC forms completed by a U.S. licensed doctor of medicine, MD, doctor of osteopathy, DO, licensed physician assistant, PA, advanced practice registered nurse, APRN, or doctor of chiropractic, DC, who listed on the National Registry of Certified Medical Examiners as clinically competent to perform the medical examination, must be given to DMV with your original application for a CLP or CDL. The MER and MEC forms must be dated within the last 2 years. When submitting the MER, you are only required to submit pages 1 through 4. Page 5 of the MER form addresses meeting medical standards with the state variants. A DMV variance would exempt a driver from federal physical standards. California does not have any variants or exemptions from the federal physical standards. The medical examiner must complete a sign the MEC form for you to carry when you are driving commercially. You can be given a citation for driving out of class if you drive a CMV after your MEC expires. Any non-commercial driver previously required to submit a medical examination report, ambulance driver, van pull driver, and freeway service patrol tow truck drivers are required to submit an MEC form. A DL51 is no longer acceptable. A commercial driver does not pass the medical examination. A commercial driver who does not pass the medical examination may qualify for California Interstate Restricted Medical Certificate DL51B. These drivers must submit a MER to DMV showing they did not pass the medical examination in order to become considered for an intrastate restricted medical certificate. You may take the completed MER and MEC form to a DMV field to be updated. You may also mail the MER and MEC form at least 4 weeks prior to the expiration of your previous medical. To the Department of Motor Vehicles, CDL Unit MS G204, PO Box 1.1.1.2.1. Interstate or intrastate commerce. CFR Title 49, subsection 383 requires CDL drivers to disclose the type of commercial operation they are engaging in. Non-accepted interstate NI operates or expects to operate a CMV in interstate commerce and subject and meets the qualification requirements under CFR Title 49.391. The license does not restrict the transport, origination, or destination of the load to be transported. Interstate commerce means trade, traffic, or transportation in the U.S. that is between a place in a state and a place outside such state, including a place outside the U.S. Two places in the state through another state or a place outside of the U.S. Two places in the state as part of trade, traffic, or transportation originating or terminating outside of the state or U.S. Non-accepted intrastate NA operates or expects to operate in interstate commerce and required to meet the qualification requirements under CFR Title 49. The cargo and passenger must originate and end in California. While driving commercially, you may not cross state or international borders. Intrastate commerce means trade, traffic, or transportation in the U.S. that is for between two places in the state as part of trade, traffic, or transportation originating or terminating inside the state. Note, if you self-certify as operating NA, non-accepted intrastate, your CDL card and driver record will reflect a CDL intrastate only restriction. Accepted interstate, EI. California does not issue a CDL that is accepted from driver qualification requirements. Accepted intrastate, EA. California does not issue a CDL that is accepted from driver qualification requirements. Accepted and non-accepted licensing. Some states issue a CDL that does not require drivers to meet the qualifications outlined in CFR Title 49, subsection 391. Those drivers are considered accepted drivers. California does not issue that kind of DL. All drivers licensed in California to drive CMVs are non-accepted drivers. Important, you may engage in interstate commerce even if your vehicle does not leave the state. DMV strongly recommends the driver certify a driving type of non-accepted interstate if you meet the federal qualifications and there is any chance you might operate a CMV in interstate commerce. (1.3) CDL disqualifications. 1.3.1 General. You may not drive a CMV if you are disqualified for any reason. 1.3.2 Alcohol, leaving the scene of an accident, and commission of a felony. It is illegal to operate a CMV if your BAC is 0.04% or more. If you operate a CMV, you shall be deemed to have given your consent to alcohol testing. You will lose your CDL for at least 1 year for a first offense for driving a CMV if your BAC is 0.04% or higher. Second bullet point, driving a CMV under the influence of alcohol. Next bullet point, refusing to undergo blood alcohol testing. Next bullet point, driving a CMV while under the influence of a controlled substance. Next bullet point, leaving the scene of an accident involving a commercial motor vehicle. Next bullet point, committing a felony involving the use of a CMV. Next bullet point, driving a CMV when the CDL is suspended/revoked. Next bullet point, causing a fatality through negligent operation of a CMV. You will lose your CDL for at least 3 years if the offense occurs while you are operating a CMV that is placarded or for hazmat. You will lose your CDL for life for a second offense. You will lose your CDL for life if you use a CMV to commit a felony involving controlled substances. You will be put out of service for 24 hours if you have any detectable amount of alcohol under 0.04%. (1.3.3) Serious traffic violations. Serious traffic violations are excessive speeding, 15 miles per hour or more above the posted limit, reckless driving, improper or erratic lane changes, following a vehicle too closely, traffic offenses committed in a CMV in connection with fatal traffic accidents, driving a CMV without obtaining a CDL or having a CDL in the driver's possession, and driving a CMV without the proper class of CDL and or endorsements. You will lose your CDL for at least 60 days for 2 serious traffic violations within a 3-year period involving a CMV. 120 days for 3 or more serious traffic violations within a 3-year period involving a CMV. 1.3.4 Violation of out-of-service orders. You will lose your CDL for at least 90 days for your first violation of an out-of-service order. 1 year if you have committed 2 violations of an out-of-service order in a 10-year period. 3 years for 3 or more violations of an out-of-service order in a 10-year period. 1.3.5 Railroad highway grade crossing violations. You will lose your CDL for at least 60 days for your first violation. 120 days for your second violation within a 3-year period. 1 year for your third violation within a 3-year period. These violations include violation of a federal, state, or local law or regulation pertaining to one of the following 6 offenses at a railroad highway grade crossing for, first bullet point, drivers who are not required to allow stop, failing to stop before reaching the crossing if the tracks are not clear. Drivers who are not required to always stop, failing to slow down and check that the tracks are clear of an approaching train. Drivers who are always required to stop, failing to stop before driving onto the crossing. And all drivers failing to have sufficient space to drive completely through the crossing without stopping. All drivers failing to obey a traffic control device or the direction of an enforcement official at the crossing. All drivers failing to negotiate a crossing because of insufficient undercarriage clearance. 1.3.6 Hazardous materials endorsements, background check, and disqualifications. If you require a hazmat endorsement, you will be required to submit your fingerprints and be subject to a background check. You will be denied or will lose your hazmat endorsement if you are not a lawful permanent resident of the U.S., renounce your U.S. citizenship, are wanted or under indictment for certain felonies, have a conviction in military or civilian court for certain felonies, have been adjudicated as lacking mental capacity or involuntarily committed to a mental health or involuntarily committed to a mental health facility as specified in FR Title 49, are considered to pose a security threat as determined by the TSA. For more information, visit universalenroll.dhs.gov or call 1-855-347-8371. 1.3.7 Traffic violations in your personal vehicle. The Motor Carrier Safety Improvement Act of 1999 requires a CDL holder to be disqualified from operating a CMV if the CDL holder has been convicted of certain types of moving violations in their personal vehicle. If your privilege to operate your personal vehicle is revoked, canceled, or suspended due to violations of traffic control laws other than parking violations, you will lose your CDL driving privileges. If privilege to operate your personal vehicle is revoked, canceled, or suspended due to alcohol, controlled substance, or felony violations, you will lose your CDL for 1 year. If you are convicted of a second violation in your personal vehicle or CMV, you will lose your CDL for life. If your license to operate your personal vehicle is revoked, canceled, or suspended, you may not obtain a hardship license to operate a CMV. Oh, but I guess there is such a thing as a hardship license to operate a CMV. But you can't have your personal vehicle license, your Class C, revoked. 1.3.8 Violation point counts. Convictions that occur while you are driving a CMV or CDL holder are retained on your driving record as listed below. Major violations and disqualification actions, 55 years. What? Out of service violations and disqualification actions, 15 years. Accidents, serious violations, and disqualification actions, 10 years. Railroad grade crossing and disqualification actions, 4 years. Minor convictions, 3 years. A traffic accident for driving unsafely counts as 1 point. Any accidents you contributed to or were responsible or at fault for are normally counted as 1 point. If you are convicted of reckless driving, driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or hit and run, These violations count as 2 points. You will lose your privilege to drive if you are considered a negligent operator of a CMV, when your driving record shows the following point counts: 4 points in 12 months, 6 points in 24 months, 8 points in 36 months. You may be entitled to a higher point count, 6, 8, or 10 points, if you request and appear for a hearing, and if 4, 6, or 8 points were not obtained in a non-commercial Class C vehicle. A violation received in a CMV carries 1.5 times the point count. A Class A or B driver who does not have a special certificate or endorsement may be allowed 2 additional points before being considered a negligent operator. What? 2 additional points before considered a negligent operator. Shouldn't it be less? Convictions reported by other states are added to your driving record and may result in CDL sanctions. If you have an out-of-state CDL, any conviction while operating in California will be reported to your home state. When a commercial driver is cited in a non-commercial vehicle, the driver may be eligible to attend traffic school. (1.3.9) Violation of hands-free or texting law. Regardless of what type of vehicle you are in at the time of violation, you will lose your CDL for at least 60 days for your second violation of the cell phone hands-free or texting law within a 3-year period and receive 1 point on your driving record. 120 days for your third and subsequent violation of the cell phone hands-free texting law within a 3-year period and receive 1 point on your driving record. 1.4 Other CDL rules. Other federal and state rules affect drivers operating CMVs in all states. You must notify your motor vehicle licensing agency within 30 days if you are convicted in any other jurisdiction of any traffic violations, except parking. This is true no matter what type of vehicle you are driving. Notify your employer within 2 business days if your license is suspended, revoked, canceled, or if you are disqualified from driving. No one can drive a CMV without a CDL. The court's actions may involve a fine or require you to serve jail time for breaking this rule. If you have a hazmat endorsement, you must notify and surrender your hazmat endorsement to the state that issued your CDL within 24 hours of any conviction or indictment in any jurisdiction in which you were found not guilty by reason of insanity or of a disqualifying crime listed in CFR Title 49. Adjudicated as lacking mental capacity, involuntary committed to a mental health facility as specified in CFR Title 49. Or you renounce your U.S. citizenship. Your employer may not let you drive a CMV if you have more than 1 license or your CDL is suspended or revoked. The court's actions may involve a fine to the employer or require the employer to serve jail time for breaking this rule. All states are connected to one computerized system to share information about CDL drivers. The states will check drivers' history records to be sure that the drivers do not have more than 1 CDL. You are not allowed to hold a mobile telephone to conduct a voice communication or dial a mobile telephone by pressing more than a single button when driving. You are not allowed to send or read text messages while driving. You must be properly restrained by a safety belt at all times while operating a CMV. The safety belt design holds the driver securely behind the wheel during an accident, helps the driver control the vehicle, and reduces the chance of serious injury or death. If you do not wear a safety belt, you are 4 times more likely to be fatally injured if you are thrown from the vehicle. 1.4.1 State laws and rules. All CDL drivers must know the state laws limiting the size and weight of vehicles and loads. All CMVs must stop at locations posted for CHP testing and inspections. Any officer who has a reason to believe a CMV is not safely loaded, or the height, width, or length or weight of a vehicle and load is unlawful, is authorized to require the driver to stop and submit to an inspection, measurement or weighing of the vehicle. The officer may have the driver stop in a suitable area and reload or remove any part of the load. Any person driving a CMV over a highway or bridge illegally is liable for all damages caused to the highway or bridge. When the driver is not the owner of the vehicle, but is operating it within the permission of the owner and the driver may both have to pay for the damage. And then there's a table. A driver is disqualified from operating a CMV if convicted of any of the following offenses while operating either a commercial or non-commercial motor vehicle. And it's a pretty big list. We've got to walk a fine line for these, for everybody's sake. So serious offenses. And then the list goes on. Driver disqualified for operating commercial vehicles. There's more figures. More out of service. And we will stop it there. We'll stop it there and continue on to the next one, which is not really any special. So it's state air emission rules. Emission control labels, periodic smoke inspection program, commercial idling, tractor trailer. These are just designations, descriptions, and definitions on that next podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the support. Please share it. Please go follow the YouTube channel, Trucking Tendencies, and give it a thumbs up and share it. Again, thanks for listening, tuning in. Have a nice day, and eyes on the road. Thank you.